Welcome and welcome back to the Professional Lovers Channel. I'm Al.
I'm Patty,
And
and we
we
are the
are-
Professional Lovers.
Yes, we are.
Back with you for another recap of Married at First Sight.
Yes.
If you're just joining us, we do this every week. We like facilitating relationships, having been married for 28 years. So we have a great relationship, and we like to see other people with great relationships.
True.
And so we talk about relationship issues using Married at First Sight as our catalyst for discussion. And tonight didn't disappoint. First, let me say we were excited to see how many views we had from last week. We hit over 1,000.
And thank you all.
For us, that's a big deal.
Huge.
We know that that's minute compared to
some of y'all out there.
Yeah, but that was cool for us.
Yes.
And definitely enjoyed the feedback. We had a few people that disagreed with our assessment of Zach last week.
You're allowed.
Saying that he was ready for marriage, but not ready for marriage to Michaela. And we kind of had a big discussion about that. And people said, we love you, but we didn't really agree with you there. And that's cool, because your perspectives are just as
valid
as our perspectives, real. And sometimes you see things we don't, and vice versa. So that's what it's all about. So we enjoy those of you who comment and are really interested in the issue and how to use tools that help to grow stable relationships.
Enhance relationships.
So that's what we're all about. And so tonight, let's get started. Let's see, 2 main themes. Visiting each other's childhood homes, or finding out, childhood backgrounds of each other. And then the visit with Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. So Bao and Johnny. Johnny took Bao to his old house, and Bao took Johnny to her neighborhood. The trailer that her family lived in was no longer on the property, but she had pictures, and they both talked about, the hardships that their parents had. Johnny's parents ended up divorcing. And Bao's parents had a lot of issues with her dad's PTSD and all that, but they stayed together
50 plus years.
And we thought that Johnny's sympathetic compassion for Bao after hearing her family story and hardships was kind of a breakthrough.
Yeah.
He talked about how he had an aha moment with realizing that because his mom walked away, that the message to him was that, hey, if you have to divorce. Walk away if that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And
the operative action word in what what Patty just talked about was we thought.
Yeah. He was saying how he realized that he's just like his parents, which is why it has been so easy for him to just walk away from relationships. And that wasn't fair to Bao. But then when Dr. Pepper came over to talk, he threw a curveball. Talked to Bao's best friend, who told him to get the heck out of Dodge, basically. Get the heck out of Dodge.
That's a 4-letter word, yeah.
Yeah.
And 1.
Yeah.
Because I use 1 too.
That was like, it was a surprising blow to Bao, and she felt betrayed by both of them.
Yeah.
And what's you can't necessarily discount best friends at the same time when you don't really know the best friend?
Well, actually, you can't. Well, true. And I understand exactly what you're saying. But you also cannot, as a person in the relationship, rely on somebody outside the relationship, regardless of what the relationship is between your significant other, your spouse, and that individual, and whatever history they may have. Because you, being in the relationship, know exactly what it is you're giving the relationship. And it may be something totally different because you've never felt the way you're feeling in this particular relationship. So no one can actually be an expert and give expert advice to the person you're relating to on how this relationship is going.
Yeah, and the only reason I feel that he so willingly took the best friend's assessment is because he doesn't want to be there.
It's more of an excuse.
It's more of an excuse to just do what he wants to do, which is to walk away.
Walk away.
And she's not making it easy for him to walk away.
Yeah, well, but she's not easy to walk away from. Because I believe any man to have a woman like that. Now, there may be, I'm not saying, she's great.
We're not saying she's perfect.
Yeah. But someone who is willing in such a short period of time pull out the stops and show you the effort that they're willing to go to, or the lengths that they're willing to go to show you how much they're into this relationship. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're in. And that's all you ever want, to know that somebody's got your six, that they got your back, no matter what the situation is. And I mean, who wouldn't want that? Well, we know somebody who evidently doesn't, but...
Well, he doesn't see it that way.
He doesn't see it at all.
Well, exactly. And I was going to say that, throughout these 6 weeks, I haven't seen any of what the best friend characterized Bao as.
True.
Someone who is controlling and will break you down to remold you into what she wants you to be. I haven't seen that. What I've seen is a Bao who has done everything that Johnny has wanted, and really got nothing back. Yeah. She has acquiesced to everything that he has wanted based on how he's feeling at any given time. And so I feel like she has every right to feel betrayed by the best friend and the husband.
True.
So,
and eventually she's going to get her breaking point too.
I think she's nearly there. She's nearly there.
She's diplomatic though.
Yeah. Michaela and Zach. As Michaela was describing the retreat altercation to Dr. Pepper, I'm like, were we all watching? Okay, was she there?
She not there?
Was she seeing what we saw on camera?
No.
Because
I really, in my own opinion,
and we kind of had we weren't on the same page with this, but go ahead.
But I really believe that Michaela has had or is in the process of having a true nervous breakdown. To not understand that your actions have played a major part in the outcome of this situation, and for it to be as explosive as it is from your actions, and to not acknowledge any part of it, that's a disconnect. That's a major disconnect. And I was
going to say, it's not about understanding. She didn't even acknowledge.
That's a disconnect.
In her mind, I begged him to stay. No mention of... Go on now. Bye. Yeah, bye. Bye. Go ahead. I don't need you. I don't need it. I can get a ride. I don't need you.
And see that to
No
me,
mention of that.
to me that's nothing but game playing. But how do you not comprehend what it is that you're doing, especially when you talk about having abandonment issues, when you give a person an open door to walk through?
No, when you tell them to go.
Well,
You tell them to go.
and then
And
say,
say, he abandoned me. The chick needs some serious therapy. Yeah. And when Zach could not talk about it with their first meeting with Dr. Pepper, I was totally with him, because too overwhelmed, too traumatized to sit there and hear her lie, not only to say, I begged him to stay, and he just up and left me, even though he knows I have abandonment issues. But then also to say that there is no evidence that I have done anything to him.
In her mind. And again, that's why I say that.
And I'm like, true chick, you had a whole cabin full of people.
Oh no,
who evidence. Can verify that what you did.
But it's on videotape. That's exactly why I say that there's a disconnect, because she does not relate to the parts that she evidently did and said, and the fact that her wording, and I'm somewhat critical about how she said what she said when she said that she did not do anything to him. And when I believe she says that, she's thinking about her literally doing something to him.
You mean physically?
Physically, even if it's, being verbally abusive, and that's what I'm saying. Something that I guess tangibly hurts him. Now, of course, we know what she did to him, but it doesn't register in her mind that she did anything to him.
And yet she turns around and says, I love you. That's scary. That's scary love. You don't want that love.
It's disconnection.
But then he turns around after he's had his moments of space and whatever, and the second meeting with Dr. Pepper, now he's ready, and she's all ice, and he wants to talk. He wants to get together,
just to have a discussion
and get closure. She's like, I've got closure. I really have nothing more to say. And he's like, come on. And Dr. Pepper facilitates a little hand holding and stuff. And I'm like,
put them both out of their misery.
I'm confused. Mixed messages on both sides. Is the sex that good? I mean, come on. Because this constant back and forth, it just needs to stop. It just needs to stop. She needs to go into therapy and get her stuff together. Deal with her issues. When Dr. Pepper said, I want you to take time to work on this, like saying for her to work on it herself. I'm like, Dr. Pepper, you need to be giving her the name of a good therapist to start going to right now, because she needs it. And he may need it too.
Yeah.
After going through this whole thing. So.
Because he has to express himself differently.
Yes.
He does.
And he does have to learn how not to be scared of conflict. I understand. And a couple of you said that he is, some people are more averse to conflict than others. Mm-hmm. True. I don't know that anybody likes conflict, but you do have to learn how to not be afraid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable.
Not to run away from it.
It's inevitable.
And how to manage that. So those are tools that he needs to learn, as all of his exes told him that he avoids conflict
at all costs.
At all costs. So they just need to separate, end it, work on themselves. And if they are all feeling like they want to try again, great, but come back as healed, mature people, and hopefully it would be a smoother ride. But right now, they don't need to be dealing with each other. Merlin Gill again went to see each other's childhood neighborhoods, apartment. Well, Gil took her to see his, and then she took him to play volleyball.
Well, she explained more of her background.
Right. And he expressed some kind of worry that she wants to forget where
she has worked so
came
hard
from.
Yeah, she has worked, and that so worries hard him. It does. I mean, to me, the thought of trying so hard to get away from where you've been is an effort to try to forget where you've come from. And I think remembering where you come from, if it's of, minimal surroundings and your life was just challenging, that keeps you humble, because you then can appreciate where you've grown from to get to where you are now. And it's not to say that where you are now should be the be all that ends all, because I don't think there's anyone who cannot improve upon who they are, even individually. So to try to forget where you've come from, I think that's the wrong reason to achieve whatever your goals are. Not to improve, that's one thing. But to improve to the point where you are doing it so that you can forget where you come from, you can never do that. That's part of your DNA, which means you're really trying to hide.
Well, yeah, it's like it's kind of the motivation thing. Are you using where you came from to motivate you to be better? Or are you using it? Are you motivated to be better so you don't have to think about that?
Yeah.
And it's like a shame thing, or a embarrassment, or I mean, it is what it was what it was.
Right, but it doesn't have to be that anymore. Yeah. But again, it's part of you. It's like cutting off your left arm because you're right-handed. It doesn't make sense.
So, but in their meeting with Dr. Pepper, talking about their financial issues, which is another, along with communication, which we've talked about a lot, financial philosophy and financial, your perception of finances is also something that can cause a lot of tension in relationships. And in her mind, I've worked hard for what I've gotten. I don't apologize for it, which Gil said he likes about her.
That she's not apologetic.
And I have saved.
Right. She's been responsible.
Right. She's been responsible with her spending. And she spends what she can. And as a single person, you can spend a lot. If you've got it.
True.
You can spend a lot.
You've earned it.
And save. He can't spend as much as she can.
Because he don't make as much.
Exactly.
But now let me ask a question to all of y'all. Do you think of that as a way of him being a controlling male? Just throwing it out there. Because again, they talked about, a 6-year plan, a 3-year plan, and what if we can do it in a 1.5-year plan, And again, they're not young. They're not in their 20s. They were both in their mid-30s. So, if you're starting a family and whatnot, I understand that, a time factor is real. So him or her mentioning, a possible 6-year plan. Him saying, well, what if it's a 3-year plan? But what if we can do it in a 1.5 years?
Wouldn't that be better?
Yeah, but would it? Would it?
Well, and her thing is at the expense of having some fun. Do we have to give up all the fun to save that hard, that fast?
Mm-hmm.
I think, they're both going to have to compromise.
True.
Because his point is when you come into a marriage, then you look at the finances a little differently.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
And that's with anything. We've talked about this before, this staying single-minded even after getting married, still living, wanting to live like you're single, go out like you're single, instead of realizing that it's not just you coming home to your spouse and sleeping in the same bed, in the same room, and eating dinner together.
It's a lifestyle change.
It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah. And
it's not that you have to give up everything that you did when you were single.
But your priorities
But you alter
change.
it.
Yeah, your priorities change.
Right. And the same with finances. Mm-hmm. Realizing, and the one thing that this whole show tonight showed is how our environments inform our perceptions, mm-hmm. and our interpretations of things, and why that makes us individuals.
True.
And you can't beat your head against the wall because your spouse sees things differently than you do. Yeah. You grew up differently.
That's all.
You grew up differently, and this is about the give and the take, the compromise and the negotiation, mm-hmm. of bringing two different perceptions, perspectives, interpretations, styles, mm-hmm. together, and integrating them, melding them together. That's the whole point. And so the two of them are going to have to do that with the finances.
Okay, with what you're saying, who's the segue into? With exactly what you said, who's next?
Who's next is Rachel and Jose.
Exactly. Because just to piggyback on what you're saying, mm-hmm. about the different perspectives, mm-hmm. their little thing, which we caught it.
Yeah.
And we kind of stuck on it and talked about it quite a bit. Rice and beans.
Right.
To Jose, rice and beans was like, that's all we had.
We ain't got no money.
We ain't,
that's all we can eat.
This is what we don't have. Whereas Rachel was that, hey, we're Latino.
We're Hispanic.
This is what we eat. Rice and beans.
We eat rice and beans.
That's a cultural thing. Yeah.
And that was real interesting.
It was. I thinking about it, and it's not to say that either perspective is wrong, but it's how, and again, Jose was having his rice and beans in his own
single family house
built by his family.
Exactly.
Brick house.
Right.
And I don't care what state you're in, you got a brick house. That's a real house.
Right.
And that's not something that every family or every child gets an opportunity to grow up in.
And it made Rachel say, well, that makes me wonder, why he felt like he didn't have a lot.
Anything. Yeah, because in her mind, her perspective of you being a homeowner, you already arrived.
Right.
And even in today's society, homeowners are different. And it's not to say that it's necessarily right or wrong, but depending on your priorities and what has been established from, in many cases, through nothing you did, because it's your parents that did it, mm-hmm. that's where their focus was, to provide something stable, secure, whatever it is. Whether it was the financial literacy or whether it was the upbringing that they felt they needed to provide for you to have your own and be established, and, regardless of the size, people just think a little differently. I'm a Bronxite. Ain't a whole lot of homes, single family homes in the Bronx. We got people above, below, on either side, in front and back. I mean, so you it's it's a little statement saying that basically the only thing you own is the 6 inches in front of your face. Because all the rest of the space is occupied. So it's perspective.
Right.
Perspective. And it was just interesting how they looked at something as trivial as a meal, one thinking this is what we do, this is who we are, and the other thinking this is all we have. So, but again, they met each other, and now it's almost like this is where the compromise and the softening of your
rigidity,
and your single focus or your single-mindedness tends to melt a little bit, to understand that people are allowed to think the way they think, and you can still coexist. Matter of fact, you can even thrive. You soften your area, you might be able to go a little higher,
quicker.
You create a little more discipline in yourself, from the person who's rigid. You take some of that and add it to yourself, and now you become a little more confident and focused on what it is you want to do, and it makes a difference in your trajectory. So that's what sharing lifestyles and perspectives is all about, and that's what relationships, personally, I think, is all about, where you enhance one another and what it is you bring to the table.
And that magnifies one of the tips in our book that says that you're alike enough to understand each other, but then you're different enough to enrich each other.
Yeah.
And that, to enrich each other, you have to recognize, appreciate, and use each other's skills to help love grow.
Yeah.
So that's where all that negotiation, compromise, learning from each other comes in, to build that solid foundation and to grow the relationship to where you're both benefiting.
And all of that is in that little book.
Yeah, it is. Then when they got together with Dr. Pepper, I like seeing Jose's little notes that he wrote for himself after the lockout, pasted up on the refrigerator. That kind of showed that he's serious about, remembering to do those things.
Building the relationship.
And she laid a bombshell that you figured out.
Yeah, I thought about that.
That after she got locked out the house, she went to an ex-boyfriend's house. And she
went to somebody else because she needed safety. She was out of the house. She went to the other.
Well, yeah, that wasn't her first. Yeah, that wasn't her first thing.
She went to the other couple's apartments.
Nobody answered her door.
And she needed to find some shelter. I mean, this is crazy. We're not going to go back into that situation.
Yeah,
but
so
she reached out to somebody that she knew, that she trusted, and who's to say that you can't have a former relationship be or still be a friendship?
And there are a lot of people who have friendships with their exes.
Well, they become friends of the couple.
Well, they should become friends of the couple.
Otherwise, they can't be friends.
Right. And that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, but that's in the book, too.
But that's where, and he felt some kind of way about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But it wouldn't have happened if he didn't precipitate it.
Yeah. So there's that. And he said that trust was non-negotiable for him. And I think she demonstrated trustworthiness by letting him know.
Yeah. By being
that's what happened.
Forthright, and honest.
Nothing else happened.
Yeah.
But, and she said, I don't want to have secrets. I want to be transparent.
And I believe that he would have to deal with that. Now, if he lets his mind run, again, it was his doing that caused it.
That put her in that situation.
Right.
So, Ryan got caught. They were doing so well.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
Well, I'm saying,
they had fun.
They had fun. Going to his family's property and fishing and a picnic and all of that. Mm. And then when it was her turn to share, she was like, don't really feel like sharing. Why? Because I got a text from a friend that you are on a dating app that you signed in up for today.
Yeah. And matched with somebody that she knows.
And, his explanation about it's not active. Apparently it is.
What difference does it make?
And it wasn't going to, I wasn't going to do anything till after decision day. That means you're already planning ahead. Mm-hmm. So, Ryan, you really, just got caught, dude.
And Brett, really, that was just such a slap in the face. Yeah. Because and she said it, as simple as the words were, you couldn't have waited a week. You couldn't have waited 1 week.
Already planning.
So, you want to be a serial dater, you continue to be a serial dater, have your life.
And I like the fact that she told him it was disrespectful. And, he claimed that respect was a huge thing. Mm. And he disrespected her by, again, playing the game, but not really being in it. Yeah. And, I don't know what happens next week, but he showed his hand. Well, I should say his hand got shown for him.
No, he showed his hand. Why would you put yourself out there like that?
Yeah. Anyway,
Some guys don't think. Some guys just don't think. Literally. We get a bad rap, but it's because of guys like that we get a bad rap.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about that.
Well, I'm a guy.
I'm letting you say it.
I'm a guy. And again, guys, we are guys. We are hunters. I understand all of that. But for what? For what? A moment, and that's what gets us in trouble. That we get weak for a moment, as opposed to swallowing that moment, let it go. That's like an urge you're having, the third piece of cake. You already had some cake. Why you need a third piece of cake? Yeah, let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah, that was a sad note to end on.
Really.
But so next week is the last week they have before decision day. And we will see where everyone ends up. You asked me a question. Do I still think we're going to get 2 couples out of this? I'm keeping hope alive. If they go 0 for 5, that's really going to be sad. And they may really need to think about some of their processes. But I'm hoping we get 2 out of the 5.
I think we will.
I'm going to keep hope alive.
This is more than hope, I believe.
All right.
I believe.
So until then, till we find out, you guys take care, stay safe. Keep giving your feedback. Keep talking to us, and we will keep talking to you. And we'll see you next week.
Hopefully we get another 1,000 views.
Or more.
Yeah.
Until then, peace.
Enjoy.